Alright, so after analyzing the 76ers in my first video, I'm now going to analyze the Los Angeles Lakers, who had the second worst record in the NBA and the worst record in the Western Conference. So in this video, I'm actually using two lineups because I wanted to showcase the two top players on their current roster. Both lineups are the same, using the same players, but I used the Impact, small ball, Julius Randle, and then the Spotlight, D'Angelo Russell. Unfortunately, they were not in the same lineup, so that's why you only see two halves of each of the first two games. So, looking at the Lakers, to me, after signing Luke Walton as their head coach, which was a major upgrade over Byron Scott, because Byron Scott, even though I like him, is not that good of a coach, but it was tough though when you look at the Lakers because they were having to deal with the end of Kobe Bryant, which shout out to Kobe, congrats on being, possibly the GOAT. But anyways, I'm not too surprised that the Lakers just sucked these past couple years. I mean, they have a lot of young talent and they have a promising future, but I mean, just because since you had Kobe on the roster, there really wasn't room for development, which is why I think that this team really isn't as bad as what people are making them out to be. They probably have, and now that they brought Brandon Ingram in, they have a big four to build around in the future, which is what they should do instead of trying to sell the farm and go for a superstar like Russell Westbrook or someone of that nature. But when looking at their team, you have D'Angelo Russell, who is the number 2 pick in last year's draft, which to me has loads of potential. And I know, and I brought this up in the last video about the Summer League, it's not the greatest measure of how they're going to play in the NBA, but it gives you just kind of a glimpse of how. Don't take it all the way as end all be all, but it's just a good tool to use when analyzing a player's potential and skill. But what D'Angelo Russell showed in the end of last season and in this summer league is that he is a playmaker and is going to be one of the better point guards in this league. He has great shooting touch, great ball handling, one of the best passers, I'd say even right now in the league. So their point guard, I wouldn't trade him really for anyone. You have Jordan Clarkson, excellent slasher, not the best three-point shooter, but I'd say it's realistic to shoot between 30 for him to be a 35-36% three-point shooter. Probably won't ever go north of that, but that's pretty much all you need from a guy who's athletic as he is and as lengthy as he is, and the fact that he can play the point guard and the shooting guard position is definitely helpful. You have Julius Randle, which I'm kind of mixed on my opinion of Julius Randle. To me, he reminds me a little bit too much of a Josh Smith or like a Michael Beasley, but at the same time, he is a different player. I think he has less of the mental distractions that those two players had. So he has great touch as a big man. Just an absolute tank, driving to the basket, grabbing rebounds, great passer, great defender. I mean, in Kentucky, he was just absolutely dominant, double-double machine. I think he'll keep doing that in the NBA. Now that Kobe's not playing, I think these three players will get more chances to shine, and they'll also get to see the offense put around them even more. Also, I'm going to put a link in the description and also an annotation. B-Ball Breakdown has a great video on the big three of the Lakers. It is dated. It was from the beginning of last season, but it's pretty much the exact same since none of them completely dropped off the face of the earth or anything, or just crap the bed when playing. So I'm going to put that video there. But I think with Luke Walton coming in and being the head coach now, I'd like to see them follow the mold of the Golden State Warriors. They don't exactly fit the mold just because of the personnel, but you can kind of see the basis for it with the playmaking guards and the athletic bigs, and then you throw in Brandon Ingram, who is to me the most complete player in the draft. People are comparing him to Kevin Durant, which I think is a little bit extreme, but you can make those just the same way they compared Simmons to LeBron. You can make those comparisons. Obviously, he's lengthy player. He has great shooting touch. He's a decent defender, and I think he can grow just because of his length. He can be a good defender. He will definitely help just being able to go off ball and being able to make plays on the ball. I'd like to see just a total just pace and space, uh, just moving off the ball, pace and space offense with 3-point shooting and a lot of passing. I think this Lakers team can definitely do that. So their young core is looking very bright, and I think it'd be very successful. But with the recent signings of Luol Deng and Timothy Mozgov that headlines their their free agency. I like Luol Deng, but 4 years, $72 million is a bit much. But then again, with the whole salary cap being raised, I think that that's just what you had to pay him. He's a great defender, and I think just being a veteran, I think he'll probably start going game one of the season. I think that I would like them to do the same thing they did with Russell by letting him earn it in terms of minutes in the starting lineup. But Brandon Ingram is definitely the future, but Deng will definitely be a veteran presence. He's a great defender. He's not the all-star player that he was in Chicago, and you saw what he did in Miami. He's still a great player to have on the roster. Doesn't hurt for him to be there. And then they let Roy Hibbert go to bring in Timothy Mozgov, which I understand what they're doing with Mozgov. He's a decent player. He's got a decent mid-range jumper. He's a good rebounder, big player, tall player. But 4 years, $64 million on the first minutes of the offseason, there must be something that they know that we don't, that they wanted. Defensively, he's not as good as Hibbert, but I think he'll definitely get the job done. There might have been a better option at center, but he will work. I'd like to see him in the pick and roll with Russell, with Clarkson, Ingram. If he could just play the role of an Andrew Bogut, but I don't think he's nowhere near as good as Andrew Bogut. But that's just, he is an upgrade at center, so that is something that's definitely good. They traded for Jose Calderon from Chicago. Great backup point guard. Spaces the floor, great passer. Doesn't hurt. He's not the greatest defender, but it doesn't hurt for him to be on the team. Realistically, looking at this team, just with the way the Western Conference is, they're probably not going to make the playoffs this year, but they will definitely be an improvement over last year. I mean, when you look at their record last year, they were 17-65. They've broken the worst records in Laker histories these past couple of years with each consecutive year. They're going to be better than that. I'd say 30 wins, like mid-30 wins, is realistic for this team, especially with this new head coach. I could see them maybe challenging for the 8th seed, but I don't see them actually making or winning the 8th seed. But it's definitely going to help Laker Nation to be back and feeling some sense of competitiveness. But when you just look at the standings, they'll be better than Sacramento. They'll be better than Phoenix. Actually, you know what? I don't really want to make those claims, but because I haven't really looked at the rosters. But from just thinking about it, I could definitely see them being better. So that's definitely good in terms of, because a lot of people were trying to give up on this Laker team, but I think they're about a year or two away from being back to competitiveness and back for contending for championships or just going to the playoffs. They're better off than the Sixers to me. The Sixers still have at least 2 years before they're contending for the playoffs, but the Lakers, I think they're about a year, possibly two, from making the playoffs as just a lower seed. I'd like to see them follow what the Thunder did, follow what the Spurs did, follow what the Warriors did, build this team from the ground up. Don't go selling yourself out to the big-name free agents, especially Russell Westbrook in this case, because he's only on a one-year deal, and it is cool that he's from LA, and I think that would help with some loyalty, but it's not worth throwing away this team that you're building. So that's my take for the Lakers right now. I think they're a promising young team, just in terms of potential and just the players that they have. I'm going to leave that link for B-Ball Breakdown there, and also their channel. Go check their channel out. That Coach Nick posts some great stuff about just basketball in general, the NBA, basketball skills, and then his take on different performances that happen, and young players, old players, whatever it is, NBA, he's got it. I'd say that's about it. I'm thinking about doing some more stuff regarding the NBA Live mobile app. And like I'm going to keep doing my team by team breakdown, but I am going to start doing some more things regarding the app and the different sets, the different live events, and my progress towards different players. So yeah, that should do it. My next team will be the Brooklyn Nets. So yeah, enjoy your day, guys.